Welcome now Republican Congressman French Hill of Arkansas, who serves on the Financial Services Committee. So welcome, Congressman. It's always great to have you with us. Before we get to the new stimulus, the fourth round supposedly, let's talk about what's come before, because you are the acting chair, co-chair of actually a commission that looks into that. I think you had meetings just today on it. What have you learned from the first rounds of stimulus that might inform the next one?
Well, David, thanks for having me back. Yes, we had an Oversight Commission meeting. Our bipartisan CARES Oversight Commission met this morning to look at what the Treasury and the Fed have done with the Exchange Stabilization Fund in the so-called Main Street Lending Program, which is now up and running, and capital is now flowing to businesses through that. However, we think it should have gotten started faster, and we think it should be more flexible for more businesses that are suffering temporary distress because of the coronavirus.
So Congressman, is the lesson you learned from that on the one hand, the Fed is just being a little dilatory, they should get moving faster, or is it that in fact, the Fed is not the best people to deal with Main Street, that actually we need Congress with some version of a new PPP, something else to help Main Street out there?
Well, I do support the extension of the Paycheck Protection Program that Senator Marco Rubio has proposed. I also support his emergency disaster loan approach, moving that over to the 7A loan program for the SBA. Both those things would help our businesses, both small and medium sized. But the Main Street program is really geared towards a non-public company and a company that's quite larger than the PPP small business area. And right now, those terms from the Fed and the Treasury are very conventional. They look like a very normal bank loan. And I don't think they meet the needs of certain distressed sectors like you see in hospitality or in retail.
So give us your sense right now of these negotiations. I mean, it sounds like both sides are far apart. They say they're far apart. Is this just part of the negotiating posture, or are we really getting ideology in here that might interfere with what's good for the economy?
Well, we need practical bipartisan solutions now and check ideology at the door. This week, I thought both senators and the administration and Speaker Pelosi were fairly constructive, narrowing the list of debates that they're having about this future coronavirus bill. But I believe they should come to terms on an extension of PPP. They should come to terms on flexibility for our state and local governments to spend the money that we've already sent out there. Only 22% of that money has been spent, David, from the CARES Act, $500 billion for our state and local governments. And let's get an agreement on family support through the economic impact payments that President Trump wants. And let's get a decision on an unemployment benefit that doesn't deter people from going back to work as our economy reopens.
How close are you?
Well, if you believe the news cycle today, we're not close. But when people are still talking and still posturing, that means they're still negotiating. So I have my faith that the House and Senate leadership and our administration will come together and take a decision that's in the right decision for the American people.
Does the promise or threat, depending on how you look at it, of an executive order from President Trump addressing some of these issues, does that help the negotiation or hurt the negotiation? On the one hand, it sounds like we don't need legislation.
Yeah, I don't think that hurts the negotiations. I'm glad President Trump and Larry Kudlow and Secretary Mnuchin are thinking about things the executive branch could do on their own to advance economic reopening and funding for the American people to get on with getting our economy open safely and soundly and getting back to a growth pattern.
Are there any red lines from the Republican side or that you detect on the Democrat side, or is basically everyone negotiating in good faith and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle?
Well, I believe the negotiations, particularly by Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, have been in good faith to find a place where he can get a majority of, get 60 votes in the Senate. And when you do that, you're being very practical. I don't think he's there yet, or he would have put that bill on the floor of the Senate. So I think there's still negotiation going on. Plus, a lot of those senators don't want to get out in front of where the administration will agree. So I believe both sides are working in good faith, but on behalf of the taxpayers, on behalf of the American people, I think we need to get this done soon so that we can have families feel relief, have the funding that we need to go forward and get this economy open.
Congressman, you've spent a good long time in Washington. You also spent a lot of time in Arkansas, but including in the Treasury. So you know the way Washington works. Why does it take so long? I mean, let me argue a bit for the other side here, saying the Democrats to the House had a bill that they passed 2.5 months ago, and the Republicans said, we want to wait and take a look at how it works. Well, you've waited and take a look at how it works. Did you learn anything that changes how you come out?
Yeah, I think Nancy Pelosi moved a bill well over a month ago that was just a progressive wish list. Some things actually had to do with the coronavirus. It was too broad, too much, too many trillions of dollars with no assessment of what we've spent. And as I just said a few minutes ago, only 22% of our state and local money that we gave our governors and our mayors in the CARES Act has even been spent. Therefore, waiting to assess what those gaps are, I think was a smart decision. We've done that. And now we're negotiating in good faith to take this final step at things that we need to do to help kill the virus and get our economy back open. And I believe that's done in good faith, but we need to narrow the list and focus on just those things that we absolutely must do for either the health and safety of the American people or to aid our economic recovery.
Congressman Hill, you did mention the 22%, which struck me when you said it in terms of the amount of money being dispersed to the states so far. Why?
I think the governors feel like, I won't speak for every governor, but I know Governor Hutchinson in Arkansas believes that there's not quite the flexibility that he needs to get that money in the best way to state and local governments and to use it in a way that's most flexible. So two things. One, let's broaden the list of things that money can be used for in terms of killing the virus, getting our economies open, and let's move the date beyond 12/31 of 2020, which is what the CARES Act required. Senator Grassley has made those kind of constructive suggestions in the Senate bill, and that's why I think we're headed in the right direction on that topic with Senator Grassley's proposal.
An awful lot of Americans across the country are really watching this very, very closely. It affects them and their personal lives. What do we not understand? You're on the inside of the process. We're not. What do we not understand that we should understand about this process and what needs to get done?
Well, we're in a political year, and Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. She's the leader of the loyal opposition against President Trump. Anything President Trump wants, she's not for. And she needs to put that aside and focus on that narrow list of things where there's bipartisan support that both reinforce the public health needs we have in this country and the final steps we need to get our economy back open. So she needs to check those politics at the door, come to work with Mitch McConnell, get a bipartisan bill that can get 60 votes in the Senate, and let's get the relief to the American people.
Okay, Congressman, it always is a great pleasure to have you with us. That's Congressman French Hill, Republican of Arkansas and a member of the House Financial Services Committee. And even as